Everybody hear me? All right, very good. Most people think I'm soft-spoken except for my children. So if you can't hear me, let me know and I'll try to talk louder. I'll give you a little bit of history of how I got to be standing up here today. I started my social work career in 1972. So if you add all those years up together, yeah, I am that old. Yeah, I'll be 65 in January, but still going and no plans for retirement. How can you retire from this wonderful work? I started my work with the Division of Family Services, and I was fortunate enough to do special needs adoption. So I worked for them for several years. And then I became the director of an adoption agency in Independence, Child Placement Services, no longer in existence, but I was there for a few years. And then IVF came to town. So we're now in 1986, and I was hired by St. Luke's Hospital, where the reproductive endocrinologist that was starting an IVF program was located. And out of the support network through St. Luke's, we were able to organize Resolve of Kansas City. And Resolve is a national organization of infertility support. They used to be so active back then. We didn't have the internet. We didn't go and push on a button to try to find information, so we were seeking information from each other and those that have had experiences. I'm now in private practice, started that in '91. I'm in a family practice with my husband, who's a family therapist, and our oldest daughter is a child therapist, and our middle daughter works part-time. She's also a child therapist, and then our youngest daughter is an occupational therapist in Chicago. The boyfriend took her away, what can I say? You can't compete with the boyfriend. I consult with 2 fertility programs directly, Midwest Reproductive Center, Dr. Gilbach, and then KU Women's Center. They got an elaborate name, I keep forgetting it, with their physicians there. So I do a variety of work for them. I'm licensed as an adoption agency, so I can do interstate compact and those kinds of things, but I'm not like an adoption agency where you get on a list and that kind of thing. I usually work with independent adoptions, and then I do have a practice with embryo placement and adoption, which is so exciting. And then I have a new job. I'm just so excited about this one. I'm a consultant for American Adoption, which is one of the largest adoption agencies in the country, and they're located here in Overland Park, and they're starting a surrogacy program. So from bottom up, I'm going to be consulting with them about putting the program together, doing some clinical work for them, and we're real excited about getting this launched. We're in the beginning process, but it should be a very good program once we're finished. It is going to go according to the adoption model, so the preparation of carriers will be thorough, and then for the intended parents there also will be an evaluation. So we're real excited to get this on the road, and as all new programs, there's baby steps, and that's where we're at today. I'm a former infertility patient. Probably couldn't tell by looking at me. I didn't have the eye on my forehead like I used to carry. But I started infertility treatment way before IVF even was around, and that was in 1978. We have 2 daughters by Clomid, and at that time you either got pregnant by Clomid surgery or out of luck. And like I said, IVF wasn't here local until '86. There was IVF programs in Texas that some of the Kansas City people would go to. And that's actually where the reproductive endocrinologist came, was from that program. So high doses of Clomid, an amount that you wouldn't even think about taking today. You'd go to the injectables or what up with that. So of course, you know, my skin was crawling for several years. I also experienced a miscarriage, so I understand about that loss. And then our 3rd daughter just came. She came to visit, and she's been a delight. But I found out when I was going through menopause that I have polycystic ovarian disease. So that was not something that was diagnosed back then, and I was just fortunate to be able to have the children that were meant to be ours to come home. I often say that the first two were God intended, and the last one was by nature. Nature intended that child to come home to us. So that's my experience, and been doing this for 42 years. I love this work. I had a mentor, a professor in graduate school that said once you get into adoption, you'll never leave, and that was very true. And with the fertility business, it just goes hand in hand. So I'm very happy to be here with you today. I would talk at the table, but my eyes are old, so I have to have notes a little bit closer up, and that's a little bit too farther down. So again, if you need any louderness, just let me know. Okay, we are in the season, shall we say. Halloween is already passed, got that one done. Upcoming Thanksgiving, we're working on that. Hanukkah for some of you, working on that. And of course Christmas and the New Year. So we're hit 5 different times with the holidays and what the holidays mean and what they've meant to us as children, and really wanting to be part of that childhood experience, and the plan isn't coming to fruition. So lots of frustration during the holidays. I do need to tell you that the holidays are stressful for everyone. So globally, everyone has stress during the holidays because there's so much expectations going here and there, all the invitations, all the family obligations, and if you had a fight with your family last Christmas, you'll probably have the same fight this Christmas. I was listening to NPR on my way here, and there's a play showing at KU called, the name was very clever, now I forget it. But anyway, it's playing 5 generations of holiday dinners. I think it's called The Dinner or something. So the 5 different generations, so the actors are in different generation parts, and the same arguments continue on through 5 generations, so it sounds like a pretty good play. And they were playing a little bit of it, so you could hear people yelling at each other and saying, "Shut up," and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, holidays bring out the worst in us, I think, because we're exhausted, and you know, and not all of our families understand our trials. More people seek counseling during the holidays, and boy, that's sure true for our practices. We have 4 full-time clinicians, and we're all full. Going to have to work some Saturdays and stuff to try to get people in, because there's lots of disruption opportunities, shall we say, with our family base during the holidays. There's more suicides during the holidays, and that's of significance, I think. And so if you're feeling the pressure of holiday upcoming, you're with a whole bunch of other people, but 1/6 of the married population has infertility difficulties. So for those individuals, it's even more of a strain and more difficult. So we're going to talk about identifying why it's difficult, and then talk about some coping skills so that you can get through the holidays and keep on moving forward. What I've known for many years now is that for some of you, the infertility path will not be successful. As good as fertility is today, only 50% of the patients or clients that seek fertility treatment will come home with a genetic child. And then, of course, there's surprises. But so that means another 50% will be looking at different alternatives, including donor conceptions and domestic adoption. International adoption's kind of flat, state foster care adoption, so there's lots of options. But that means you're letting go. You're letting go of the child that you intended to parent, so there's a lot of grief and stress with that. I just did a webinar through the Embryo Adoption Awareness Centers of dealing with the loss of a genetic child. and it was really well attended, and they did it twice, because there were so many people signed up. And then a follow-up webinar was on how to adapt to your child's genetics if you're bringing a child home that is not genetically connected to either one of you or both of you, or a child that's already ready-made when they come home. So there's lots of education opportunities out there that I think can be helpful in tuning into. I don't think anyone really outgrows the child in us from the holidays. You know, the anticipation, the excitement, wanting it to be perfect. I think we have a lot of heaviness from that. You know, perfect for us would be, I don't know, how many kids would be sitting around? That would be what's perfect. And when it's not available to you as yet, it brings on a lot of reminders of the loss and the frustration. And everywhere you see, there's kids doing lots and lots of stuff. Trick-or-treating, knocking on your door, Thanksgiving, all your relatives will probably have babies there or other children there. The Hanukkah and Christmas, it's all centered on Christ's birth, and we aren't experiencing our own birth. So it's really a heavy, heavy time. Trying to manage it is your best success. You really can't change other people's comments or the season, but you can do some things to help yourself not be so immersed in all of the mother-child, the family and children scene that you will be seeing quite often. I know when, for me personally, the holidays have always been kind of difficult, and this, you know, I'm 65, you'd think I'd get over this by now. But when I grew up on an Iowa farm, and, you know, not, you know, affluent Iowa farm. It is now, thank goodness, but not back then. And I remember never getting what I wanted for Christmas. So the Sears catalog would come, the J.C. Penney's catalog would come, Montgomery Ward's catalog would come. I would circle and circle and put the pages over and all of that so everybody would know what I want. And I didn't get any of it. So what I found out later, that my mom purchased all of our Christmas gifts after Christmas the year before, so that it would be more economical and we would have more numbers, I guess, of presents. But it didn't allow the what you want kind of thing to happen. So what I did when our children came home, I gave them everything they wanted on their list. I mean, can you imagine how maddening that is and how expensive that was? And then the stinkers, being girls, they would change their mind and decide they want something else. So then I'd go out and get that. I mean, it was a marathon of presents. And I overdid. I really overdid trying to make up for my own experience, wound, I would say. So you may have some of that in your mind of, boy, the Christmases when I was a child weren't, you know, as I would want. And I remember thinking when I was a kid, when it's time for me to be a parent, you know, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to have things, you know, just so exciting, and it's going to be more lively and entertaining, and we may travel, you know, all those things that we think about
Dr. Montgomery,
when we're trying to heal wounds. So we have to kind of watch out where we're at in the coping, in trying to cope with all of this. I think getting through all of the celebrations, you can pick and choose what invitations you want to accept. And if there's some invitations that you just don't want to be part of because it hasn't been pleasant, or there's going to be 50 kids there and you're the only ones without children, you know, whatever that may be, you have a right to say, we're going to pass this year on that party. Thanks for the invite. Really appreciate it. And then send them a bouquet of flowers. Do something to recognize that the invitation was special, but it wasn't something that you're going to be able to do this year. And that's way okay, way okay, because we do get, really we get invited to more parties than we can maintain, and then to get here and there and all that, it's really just stressful. And when you're grieving, and most people grieve harder during the holidays because the reminder of your loss is everywhere you go. You see Santa Claus everywhere. You have, every mall has bunches of kids and Santa Claus, and you see all the commercials on TV. You go to church and there's a display of Mother Mary and the baby. And it's just all the reminders of what you're without, or that you wanted another child and that child hasn't come. Whatever situation you're in, the holidays are full of reminders that this isn't your life, at least at this time. So be very careful with being mindful that you need to take care of yourself. You can look during the holidays of, this is something we're going to manage and we're going to get through, and then we have another new year. And I think in some ways the new year is harder than all the rest of the holidays, because you probably promised yourself a year ago, a year from now, I'll have a child. We'll have a child on the way, or we'll be approved for adoption, or we'll have something in order a year from now. And when a year passes, and you've had ovarian cysts, and you have to wait out the 2 or 3 cycles, or you can't get into a cycle because the physician's on vacation, or you're overstimulating, you're understimulating, the sperm that day wasn't the best. I mean, all those things happen that delay your opportunities. Or you may have just said, I'm done with this, you know, when is enough enough? And then another year comes up, and you may second guess yourself. Well, enough is enough, yes, but maybe I could just go back for one more try and see what else I can find out. Maybe I can go to an acupuncturist. You know, maybe I can do all of those kinds of things that would give me a chance to make something happen. So the beginning of the new year is really an evaluation of where we've been in the last year and where we're going to go in the future. So as sad as it may be that you're here again, I would like to have you think about some short-term goals. Okay, so for the next 3 months we're going to do this, and give whatever that may be a try. May seek more support from friends, may go in for one more IUI, may consider an alternative, and do lots and lots of research on that alternative. Put some control and power back into your hands, and have in your head, we will be parents. I really haven't met anybody, and I've been doing this a long time, that with perseverance, determination, have not become parents. I just don't know how and when. That's the wild card. So determination, perseverance, and willingness to educate yourselves, willing to do research, willing to look at alternatives and see if you can fit those on, and with the goal of becoming parents. The late Dan Stewart, my buddy, he used to say, now do you want to be pregnant or do you want to be parents? Now if any of you heard him say that, he said it with some kindness, but also pretty direct. You know, we've been, and he would say this, we've been messing around all this time. You know, I tweaked this, I tweaked that. You know, I'm really tired of spending your money. So why don't you go see my friend Chris, and she can talk to you about different alternatives. Or have you thought about doing this? Have you considered donor conceptions, egg, sperm, embryo? Have you looked at different adoption options? And what way will you want to focus on to try and become parents? Doesn't mean that you have to continue with that plan. It's just that you're putting some education and wisdom in place to try to figure out if that's an opportunity for you. Now, when I see people that are doing any kind of donor conception and they just found out the month before that we don't have any sperm and then they're in the next month, ooh, I just cringe, because you've got to give yourself time. You have to grieve the loss of that genetic child and come up with another dream. So your dream has been for
please call 1275.
For as long as you've been practicing, trying to become parents, has been for a genetic child. And then you're told that may not be possible. So please put lots of marital communication, time, energy into what is our next best choice. We have successfully grieved the loss of our genetic child. It'll still be tender, and will be tender for a long time. I can tell you, especially with my miscarriage, I don't forget. I don't forget all the Christmases we didn't have children. I haven't forgotten them, but the trauma connected to those experiences has gone. So as you move forward and take more control of what your events are going to be through research and education, perhaps you can dream another dream and move forward with other opportunities that could bring children into your family. And I think it's important to do a timeline. And we may be at the next holiday and we still don't have a child, but do really active thinking about all of this. We want to be parents. We want to have that opportunity. And how can we do that in a way that would be best for us as a couple in moving forward? No matter what I say, your friends say, your husband says, your best friend says, we can't take the pain away. The pain fits. You're without the child that you fell in love with when you fell in love with your mate. You're without that child. And being happy in your marriage, you're even reminded that, oh, we'd be such good parents, and I can't wait to watch him crawl all over the floor and chase our little baby, and I can't wait to watch her hold that baby and love on that baby. And then when that is taken, or not possible at the time that you wanted this to happen, then there's lots of pain. And the pain fits. You're not psycho. It fits. It's a tremendous loss. I think society does us injustice. Oh, you just can't have a baby, so what? How often have you heard that? That's just ridiculous. That's our heart, our core human development is to reproduce and have children. I mean, that's just the setup. You know, the old saying, first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes baby carriage, you know, where's that at in our life? And so do not deny the pain. Feel the pain, experience the pain, it fits. You can do some things to help with the pain. I do see clients that do go on antidepressant because the amount of grief and stress that infertility causes can also cause some chemical damage in your head, in your brain, that you don't have enough chemical balance in order to maintain all the loss and the grief. And so I see lots of folks go on antidepressants. Zoloft is kind of the queen because you can take that during pregnancy and into breastfeeding, and all the REs that I've worked with and diagnosed have prescribed Clomid. And their feeling is that the stress of the infertility is worse on your body than actually the effects of the antidepressants. So recognize your feelings, manage your feelings. You can write journals about your feelings. You can do the 20-minute exercise. I love this one, where you set the timer for 20 minutes. Write down all that happened to you today to remind you of your infertility. I saw 5 pregnant women. I saw 2 children that smelled. I saw 1 child that was coming out with the measles and they were still in the mall. I saw this. My sister-in-law said this to me. My boss said, just get over it. I don't want to give you any more time off for your fertility treatment. Whatever was said to you in that day, put it in write it down, 20 minutes, write as fast as you can. And then when the timer goes off, because you may cuss in that, in the writing, you tear it up. Tear it up and stomp on it, do whatever you need to. So it's getting the energy that's connected to the pain out of your body so you can be much more relaxed when you're trying to just be. Just be. Just be the person that you are today. You can't magically change this. So just be and realize that this will be something that I will never forget. And I will always know what to say to someone when they tell me they have infertility difficulties. I won't join their denial. I won't join denial about the significance. I will listen and I will understand. And that's my promise to the future, that I will give as much as I can to the infertile population. And that's why this group is so important, that you're part of this group and can share with each other and really pain does like company. And you just nod when someone says something. You just nod. You don't have to explain. Well, it's this cycle and this number of days and all that kind of stuff. We just know. We just know what you've been through and what you've been doing. Avoid them all. I've just given an example of them all, so avoid them all. Oh, I don't go to the mall anyway. I like to do specialty shops. I live in Liberty, and there's lots of great shops there that have lots of cool stuff. And so I like to buy from small businesses because I'm a small business. So go on an adventure and for your Christmas shopping to places that aren't going to be loaded with the reminders. Parkville has a great place, Lawrence does, Liberty does, Smithville does. Everybody has their own little downtown and shops around it. So make an adventure out of it. Find something special that you want to present, that you really feel you've spent the time in choosing the gift, and you hope that they really appreciate what you've given. Also, perhaps adopt a family. Now, I know this is kind of even hard to think about because the family would probably have some kid stuff, but give to others that are struggling. And perhaps for a moment, take away your envy and jealousy that they have kids. So I'm giving to those that are without. They were able to produce children, but they're in an economic situation that they're not able to provide Christmas for them. So adopt a family is, really, I guess, popular, but it really has a lot of meaning. I also like the idea of donating to Operation Breakthrough. I don't know if any of you know this. It's down at 31st and Troost. They care for over 700 kids. And they're homeless kids, they're kids very low economic standards. 2 crusty old nuns started this business, and I actually worked with them in adoption of one of their children, and one was a cussing nun, the other one was a smoking nun, so they were just hilarious. But they have dedicated their lives to providing for these children. So if you call them up and say, is there a child that I could sponsor for Christmas, and they may have several children, that's a really good feeling to be able to provide and to know that you were able to give to those in need. You may want to establish your family's celebration. You are a family. You're a family of 2. You may have some little pets at home, they may be there, but you are a family and you operate as a family, so celebrate your family. So focus on what you do have in terms of your relationship and your commitment to each other, your commitment to get through this. Now, before support was all available, we saw a really high divorce rate for those that had infertility difficulties, higher than what the national average is. But I've seen it not as high because I think people are getting support and they're feeling that they're not alone in all of this. And so I think it's really a good adventure. Perhaps take a trip. You know, I've always wanted to go to Disney World at Christmas time. I'm a Disney World geek. That was another thing from my childhood. I would watch the Disney Club over and over and over, and I wanted to be there. I wanted to be with Annette and all those other folks. And so I've been to Disney World several times, and I do have a grandson. We have a grandson now, and when it's his time to go, I'm going to go. And then if you have an older person with you that's in a wheelchair, you get in the front of all the lines. So I'm going to volunteer myself as a wheelchair person so we can get in front of all the lines and have a great time. So, you know, even though you've gone to family events in the past and it's your family's tradition, and you may hear from your parents, oh, honey, we're going to miss you, that Christmas won't be complete without you. Well, Mom, I understand, or Dad, I understand. It's just that we need to get away. You know, we've been through so much this year, and we need to get away just for the two of us and celebrate our family as our family is, and have as much fun, and talk about the future, and give us time alone to do that. So we're really taking a break for us. And a holiday time is a good time to do it. So you don't have all those expectations when you're in the family atmosphere. I remember one of my worst Christmases. I had just gotten off of, I think it was 200 milligrams of Clomid. Can you imagine anybody being on that? That was me. And it wasn't successful, and our families live in Iowa, both my husband's family and my family in the same town, and so we had all these Christmases that we had to go to, aunts and uncles. I mean, it was just exhausting. So the final one was at my mom's house, and my sister-in-law, we call her Big Linda, because she has a big mouth, but that's kind of a side joke. Anyway, well, they had 3 children, and their middle son was just a very sensitive kid and would cry often. You look at him cross-eyed, he'd cry. So I remember one Christmas I was sitting there, you know, just kind of feeling sorry for myself, really. And then my nephew started crying, and then my brother started chasing him around, saying, "I'm going to give you something to cry about." And then my sister-in-law said, "Aren't you glad you don't have children?" Oh my gosh. Yes, I imagined myself going across the table and choking her. I did restrain. I still have it in my head that I could see myself doing that, but you know, I avoided it. So it was a really hard Christmas. I don't know. We have a 5-hour or 4-hour trip back, and I remember talking to my husband nonstop about the insensitiveness of all of our families, because they were all waiting for grandkids. This was my husband's first, our children were his parents' first grandchildren, and they would ask often, and you know, you just can't hurry this process, but we're trying to figure it out. We did decide that we would look to Korea to adopt if Clomid didn't work for us, and it took us 2 years on Clomid for the first child. Can you imagine 2 years on Clomid? And for the second child, a miscarriage several months, and then the second child several months. So, you know, of course, I was a mad hatter. I lost my train of thought just getting into that. But we just talked and talked and talked about our experiences, and it was so helpful. The communication can be so helpful. Now, I know for you guys, you're kind of, oh my God, she's going to bring it up again, and we're going to be here for 4 hours. How can I take this? So, and you know, for the guys out there, your job is to fix it, right? Your job is to make it better. And this is something you can't control. No matter how type A you are, you can't control this one. So guys feel helpless. And angry, that's primary emotion. Girls feel emotional and sadness and with anger also. So I also like the 20-minute rule for when it's time to have serious conversations, not just in the car and have 4 or 5 hours conversations. You know, this is what I found out today and I want to discuss this with you. Set the timer for 20 minutes, say what you need to say, both of you, timer goes off. Anything else we need to talk about this? Yeah, there's a few more things. Okay, set the timer again, get all that finished, and then you have that taken care of, and there's not the feeling that this is going to go on all night long and we're going to miss opportunities to connect with each other. We're going to miss opportunities to talk to our friends. We're going to miss opportunities because we're so dragged down by the intense conversation that it's hard to bounce back. You do need long talks, but hopefully put yourself in a place where you're taking a walk, going on a little day trip. You know, do things for yourself that will put you together where you can talk about this in more of a casual way so that it feels like you're getting the stuff out and you're communicating and everybody between the two of you knows your desires and your hopes. I forgot to mention internet shopping as another way of shopping without having to go to the malls. That's another great way. And then have this present sent there. Now, if you happen to have any baby showers during this period of time, oh my gosh, that's another hard, I mean, how many events do we have now? 6 and now a baby shower. Send a gift, send a nice card saying, you know, thanks for the invite. I know you're going to be wonderful parents. We love you and we look forward to our futures together. So don't really say I'm in a down place and I don't want to bring everybody else down. You know. So you just make it a matter of fact that this. You don't have to say this isn't. I can't come, but just send the present and indicate that this is what your plans are for that day. Oh, this is another good one. Okay. So probably over the years you've collected very fragile Christmas things, right? Bulbs that may break, or a breakable Santa Claus, a music box, whatever those fragile kinds of things are. I'm a vintage person, and I actually am a vendor for the Red Apron in Liberty. That's another adventure you can go to, 3rd weekend of the month. Great stuff. So put out all your fragile things. You know, in years to come, you're not going to be able to put those out because there will be little hands that will be wanting to grab and throw and all of that stuff. So as many fragile things as you can find in your collection, put it out, because as a family of 2, you can celebrate those fragile things, and hopefully they won't break with the family of 2. Your puppy dog may do a tail and break it, but so you know you are in this situation, and so celebrate and decorate in ways that you may not be able to when you have a child. I remember when our first child was Christmas time. She was 7 months old, so we put the Christmas tree in her playpen. She was so confused, but you know we needed to keep the stuff away, so we weren't able to have all that fragile stuff out, and the Christmas tree just had more wooden things on it than anything else. So you know, do celebrate the family you have, and cherish that family. And I think, you know, if you travel to go to families. Perhaps stay in a hotel rather than in the family home. Getting up Christmas morning and you have 4 toddlers and 2 6-year-olds and an 8-year-old, and you're all surrounded by all of that. Perhaps stay in a hotel where you can just rest more and maybe get there when it's time for the adults to open up their presents, or you can have, the timing can be more in your hands than the timing of the whole family event. So pick and choose when you think you're going to be okay to be there. And if you're in a family event and something does happen that upsets you, you can excuse yourself. You can excuse yourself, you can walk outside, and maybe there'll be snow then that'll help refresh your face. You can take charge. You don't have to sit there and take it. You can remove yourself. But exploding probably wouldn't be the best choice. You would have to deal with that for several Christmases in the future. So just calmly remove yourself, and then when you get with your husband alone in the hotel or whatever, you can say everything that happened and all the things that were on your mind, and you can get that stuff out. The more you put in during the holidays, the more sadness you put in, the more pain you put in, really stays longer. So if you can work even on a daily basis to recognize the signals, recognize where the tears are coming from, and really process that, again, by writing or talking, or even, I don't want to overboast, but seeing a therapist could be pretty helpful too. You can kind of put things into, therapists to help you put things into plans and recognize the loss. So again, you don't feel like you're crazy. You're not crazy unless you've been shot up with hormones, and you're a bit crazy. Church services. Now, for a lot of people, you've been mad at God. I know, I was too. Why put this deep desire in my heart to be a parent, and then I'm not able to become a parent? That just doesn't make sense to me. And why can people that not take care of their children can become parents? What is that all about? We probably won't find out until you meet your child. When you meet your child, you will then know, well, that's what this all has been about, because I was supposed to be your mom, or I was supposed to be your dad. But while you're in the middle of it, you can be very angry. If you're a regular church attender and you want to attend during the holidays, which I think a lot of people do, pick services that you think the kids won't be at, like the midnight services. There aren't many kids at those events. Or early in the morning, there aren't as many kids, and so that could be a helpful choice. So you're continuing with your faithful dedication of attending, but you're doing it in a time and place where you feel like you are more in control of that. Christmas, holidays also seems to be the time that we overindulge. So we may drink too much, we may eat too much, and we may then become a little bit more irritable. So perhaps watching that could also be helpful for you in maintaining your strength, that if you're needing to choke down some comments, or you're having a grief outburst and you're totally intoxicated, that ain't going to be helpful. So perhaps, watch some of the alcohol intake and the food intake, because when you feel like you're bloated, not only do I not have a child, but I'm fat also. I mean, that's not helpful either. So, try to restrain as best you can and come up with a balance of the party cheer. I think another thing, lack of sleep can be very hard on your body. So that would be where you're picking and choosing the parties, and when you choose not to go to a party, then that evening take real good care of yourself. Women like to take long baths, maybe go for a massage, get a pedicure. So rather than going to the party, and you've already said that we're not able to attend, thanks for the invite, send a bouquet of flowers, we really appreciate the invite, and then do something for yourselves. Maybe you DVR the last Mizzou football game, and you're going to want to watch that because they won that game. I have 3 daughters who went to Mizzou, so I got to give that a plug. Although their dad and I went to KU, so you know that's kind of a mix. But anyway, so do something for yourself. You've chosen not to involve yourself with that particular party, but we're going to do stuff for ourselves instead. Cook a good meal, watch a movie, do something that would be very helpful for you that evening. And women love massages, foot massages. Oh, I could go for that anytime. And maybe go to a movie. Do something that's helpful and gets connection. You are a family, and take care of your family. And this is a time of the year that you especially need to take care of your family. And I think this is also kind of a time where we get a little frustrated with each other. We're trying to connect, and then we got different sets of feelings going on. So everybody grieves differently. We don't grieve the same. We don't manage loss the same. We'd be all very boring. Therapists would have a boring job if we all did everything the same. So, forgive your partner that they're not grieving as you are, or they're not as emotional as you are. It's okay. You're both wanting this to happen. And guys and girls grieve differently. They express emotions differently. That's just...
Dr. Meredith, please call 1275. Dr. Alexis Meredith, please call 1275.
And hopefully you've had enough practice with each other that you kind of know you have some differences in different areas, so you don't become as irritated of, well, you're not hurting as much as I do, or you didn't really want this child, or I can't give you a child, why don't you go out and marry somebody else that can? All those digging kinds of comments are really not helpful. So just slow down your reactions, think, and then say, okay, you're handling this differently than I am. And that's okay. We're not the two same people. How boring would that be if you married yourself? That would be very boring. So we have different ways of working with each other. I have a sister that has chosen to be child-free. And so what she and her husband do to connect, well, she's a school teacher, so she connects there, but she works with special needs, high-risk high school students, so there's not a lot of nurturing going on there. But she's in charge of the school's volunteer program, so she takes students out to different people's houses to help paint. They go to nursing homes, and they do pedicures and manicures and play cards and stuff. So she gets her nurturing out by different events that she has chosen. So that may be a helpful thing also during the holidays, is choose how you're going to maybe perhaps volunteer your time, not only in gift giving, but your time. And if you have a grandparent in assisted living, perhaps you could spend more time with them, or be part of their party when they're singing their holiday party, join them. There are other events that you can join that you feel like you're also giving and supporting, and then the rewards come back to you. It's very, very helpful. Okay, another good thing to know, it's time limited. Even though it feels so heavy and we got all these events going on, it is time limited. So it's not going to be for the next 3 months that we're under this microscope of holiday joy and expectations and children and all of that, and the concentration on children. It is time limited. It will be over. So January 10th is my birthday, so I promise by January 10th you're going to have most of that. All right, we managed everything that we could, and now we're talking about short-term plans, we're talking about doing research about alternatives, we're talking about trying to figure out our forward direction. And you can also make a decision to rest. That is so important. And people think, oh, if I missed this next cycle, that would have been the cycle I would have gotten pregnant. I mean, kind of that magical thinking. But you can decide to rest. We're taking 3 months off. And you, in your short-term building decision-making after the first of the year, you can make lots of different decisions that you focus on and that you're in control of. The common feeling that I see expressed is, we're out of control. You know, we're trying to make this happen. Everything's out of control. Everything's off kilter. We're just off. And then the pressure, and then the desire, and then the hope and the dream, and all that mixed together, you know, that makes a pretty powerful drink, shall we say, when you stir all that up. So make some short-term goals that hopefully you can work on accomplishment. Do research in terms of what next dream can we have. If we're saying enough is enough, if we've drawn the line in the sand, enough is enough, then you go over all that you've experienced in the last 2 or 3 years, or whatever amount of time is. Oh my gosh, we did all of that? We took all those drugs? We had 52 shots during our IVF cycle. We did all of that. That is a lot. And now we need to rest with it and let it just be. And we can resurrect the talking, or we can start research, we can start doing other things, because enough is enough for right now. It doesn't have to be forever, but for right now, enough is enough. So that may be what, after the first of the year, you may come up with. I get so many calls in January. People want to come in and talk about adoption. I do adoption resource counseling. And they want to talk about all the options and what's going on. So obviously, they've been saying, well, after the first of the year, we'll look at what else is going to go on. But doing the research yourself is so very, very helpful. The magazine, the Adopted Guide magazine out there is really good for resources. And I have a short article in there, not to overpride here, on talking to children about donor conception. So that's just a short little thing. Okay, so I said I would talk for 45 minutes, and now it's 11:10, so it's been a little bit more than 45 minutes. But I really wanted to have some discussion and thoughts and questions that you may have thought of as I was speaking, or you want to make comments of things that you've done that has been helpful for the holidays. Any stirs for that? Yes?
I think the biggest thing is just like when somebody, whether it's a family member, or your mom or your dad, or your parents, whatever, asks you the question, you know it's coming, how do you answer that in a respectful manner, but also, communicating to them, hey, how do you answer that question, when it comes up, when are you guys going to have kids? Or because, you have some relatives that are a little bit more, maybe you're not as close with them, but, they're just saying that because that's what, the conversation is.
Yeah. Well, we've been mindful of our time together, and, that is part of our discussion, and it's really private information, and so, as time goes on, you may be hearing more about it. So, we're mindful of our future. This is private. And we're trying to decide how we're moving forward. So those are kind of vague, but at the same time, they're direct. Now, if it's people that you want to share more with, then you can say, you know, Mom or Dad, you know, we've been investigating, we've been researching, we've seen physicians, and just trust that we're doing what we can to see what's going to be able to be available for us. Appreciate your support, because they don't know what to do. They absolutely do not want to do. Now, if you're in a place that you feel more calm about your situation, then you can educate them of what they can do for you, what they can say to you that could be helpful. Maybe not asking questions, maybe ask this question once a month, or you know, whatever you want to tell them that they, because they want to be helpful too. There is a couple books on family and friends and infertility and adoption. Adoption is a family affair, that's one of them. And then there's another book on infertility with family and friends. And I think Resolve still has a good website with different articles and things. And then the National Infertility Association also has a website with a variety of articles and things of ideas that could be helpful that you could pass on. So if it's people that you really want, that you're invested in and you really want to educate them, give them things to read. Tell them that, you know, you're going to be sure and bring them up to date, but it may be just once a month. You know, we don't know day to day what's going on, and so thanks for your support, thanks for your concern. I know you only want the best for us, but you know, let us tell you how things are going, and you know, if you're a prayerful family, then you can ask for prayers in your behalf that this mission will keep moving forward. Yes?
One thing that really worked for me, may not work for you, but when we were going through our inseminations and all the 9 months of Clomid and then the inseminations, we only told my parents and my husband's parents and close people that I worked with, my good friends at work, were the only ones that knew. And then that was leading up to about September, October, and so we were starting to get a lot. We had been married for 4 years, and we were getting 5 years maybe at that point, and we were getting the question, which everyone here gets, when are you going to have children? When are you going to have children? So what worked for me personally is, and I'm an open book, so it may not work for everyone, but I sent an email to the entire family, everyone that we were going to see at every single Christmas event, family-wise. I included on the email and laid out, told them what we had been through, and told them, I told them how we wanted them to react, how we wanted them to act towards us, how we didn't want them to ask us the question, so when are you going to have children, or how's that going for you, or when's your next doctor's appointment? I didn't want those questions. I personally, and my husband, we kind of wanted to act like it wasn't even going on. That way it wouldn't be brought up and I wouldn't be a blubbering idiot at a Christmas function with everyone around. So for me personally, that's what helped, and I'm trying to pull up, I also included a website. If you go, and it will make you, it still makes me tear up and cry, but there's a website that I included. It's called Tears and Hope. If you go to www.tearsandhope.com, I included that website for them, and it's a really good website for people to see your side of the story, how you feel. One thing that we really dealt with, especially with my husband's family, was that it was happening to, they were the ones who weren't grandparents. They were the ones who, which I'm sure some of you are shaking your head, get that too, but they didn't realize, oh wait, you are the ones who aren't parents yet. So that really helped us, just basically spelling out and saying, this is how I want you to act, this is what I want you to not say, this is what I want you to say. And actually it was the best Christmas ever, because They knew
Good.
exactly where we stood and what we wanted. So if you feel comfortable, not everyone feels comfortable doing that, but that's what worked for us.
Good idea. Good idea. So it was those that you were going to see at the events?
Yeah, so everyone on my husband's side that we were going to see, whether it's and there's some people we just see at Christmas time, but I included them on the email just because I didn't want so when are you going to have children question.
Well, that probably meant that allowed them to feel important too.
Yeah.
That you valued their connection to you, and that you wanted them to know what you are experiencing. And then you can also follow up with thanks for your support, keep us in your prayers.
Yes.
And then that really kind of cuts to the chase when you say thank you for your support, thank you for your concern. I know you're coming from a good place in asking these questions, but it's so private that we try to figure it out on a day-to-day basis, and our commitment is to move forward, and we're going to keep trying to do that. Yes?
I handled mine a little differently, and this may not work for everybody. I, like Allison, am an open book. I took that opportunity whenever I got that question to educate a little bit. Hey, I really appreciate your support. Thank you for asking. Maybe if if you're comfortable, tell them, hey guys, this is a little more common than you may think, and those kind of questions do hurt people. I don't think anybody in anybody's family intentionally is trying to hurt someone. Help them not hurt people in the future too, if you're comfortable with that. They don't want to be hurtful to you repeatedly. So Allison's way of educating your family is a great way. I know my dad, when we got married, only thing he cared about was when are you gonna have kids, when are you gonna have grandkids, and he asked me that question and then when we started trying and we had such difficulty for so many years, he has stopped asking that question to every married couple that he knows, because he knows how painful it was for me.
Wow.
So it can be a very powerful education tool if you are comfortable to be honest with how painful that question really is.
Another question that's very hurtful is how many children do you have? And you may be parenting a child, but you may have lost a child to miscarriage, you may have had a stillborn. There's lots of children that get started that aren't able to stay, that are still part of your heart. And so that's a very hard question for people to ask. So I think educating people is important, because again, 1/6 of the married population has infertility difficulties. Now that used to be 5 million, so I don't know how many millions of couples we have today. I think that 5 million is dated a bit, so maybe more than that. So, if you ask that question frequently to people, you may be talking to someone that's infertile, has a lot of hurt and pain they're trying to maintain, and that won't be a good opportunity for them. It won't be a good opportunity for them. Yes?
How do you deal, or how do you respond to the dreaded, just relax, it'll happen at God's time, the time obviously isn't the right time? That, when I hear that, I just immediately get angry with that. So that's been very hard for me to deal with.
95% of all infertility cases have diagnosis. So there are medical diagnoses for 95% of all fertility. And so we have a medical problem. So you wouldn't say to somebody that's just diagnosed with cancer, well, relax, it'll go away. You would never do that. Again, educate back. There's a lot of us around. And, misery doesn't necessarily like company, but, can be helpful in the long run. So that could be, again, the education part of it could be really helpful. That's a lot of, we have a medical diagnosis that we're working with the physicians on. So relaxing really doesn't do much for that. I remember saying, I'd stand on my head for several days if I could get pregnant, You know, the old myths out there of change the side of the bed, go on vacation, stop thinking about it. You know, stress, infertility causes stress. Stress doesn't cause infertility. You know, the other 5% of the infertile population is basically the unexplained, and that's hard. It's still a diagnosis, but it's still hard. There's a longitude study going on in England, everything happens in England, now about genetic incompatibility. And they're really looking at the unexplained, population of fertility patients and really looking at their genetics. And their genetics may not be compatible. So that, you know, that's a possibility for folks out there too. Who would have dreamed that could be, you know, here present? And we're having more and more effects. The infertility population, you know, for a while we were thinking, oh, we just, you know, there's just so many because they're all standing up and saying, I'm here. But we didn't really talk about this years ago. When I was an infertility patient, Resolve had just started. We didn't talk about all this. And, you know, we are now, which is great. But we're also seeing that there's this is another longitude study, an effect on infertility from our environment, the pesticides, the hormones in our food, drinking water. So a lot of things can affect our fertility that really wasn't in place, you know, 50 years ago.
Dr.
In terms
Reardon,
of those kind of
1274. Dr. Thomas Reardon,
substance.
1274, please.
Anything else? Yes.
Just had, sorry, flu. Just the things I would say to those kind of questions. I would always start with a sadly, because it would sort of put someone on knowing that, okay, that was, I would say sadly.
Dr. Thomas Reardon, please call 8399. Dr. Thomas Reardon, 8399.
I just get very defensive when I hear that. Like, I just get angry and I get defensive. Like, I just like, I need to fight you. So that's where I go with that.
You know, women that are raped get pregnant, and I don't think that's relaxing.
I've also used in other situations, for the, and this is something that's difficult, but for the, so how many kids do you have? I would again say sadly, so that the person kind of went, you know, there might be more to this. I would say, we're nulliparous. And then they kind of go, all right, you know,
Yeah.
you throw in a medical term at them and that kind of defeats it. But I also wanted to comment on, you're talking about the hotel. We did that. We set up a hotel when we went, it was actually brothers wedding, but I knew that my sister would be there the first time we saw our child. And I feel like because we set that up, we never had to escape. So I think the more you work out those contingency plans, and kind of
Dr. Reardon,
what you're gonna
1274.
do if
Dr.
this
Thomas
comes up,
Reardon,
comes up,
1274,
maybe
please.
less likely to need it, or at least you'll feel more confident that you're ready to handle that.
Yeah, we've thought ahead, we've made plans, we accepted that
Dr.
this is
Montgomery,
going to be a
call
tender time for
1279.
us.
Dr. Montgomery,
We're not
1279.
expecting us to be superheroes. You know, our feelings may be coming out at times that we least expect it, so we do have an out. We have a way to manage those emotions and feelings. I guess another thing you can do is if you take some of the Royals games, you can watch those. I see a lot of Royal shirts out here. Has this been helpful? Has this good? You know, I dug out this folder from when I used to present this workshop or whatever conversation many years ago, and you know, technology has changed so much, but the emotions and feelings haven't. desire for a family and a child, a desire with a family with children is very important. Okay, thank you all for being here Saturday morning, and we didn't get the snow. I got my snow boots on just in case, but really appreciate, and good luck to every one of you. We're going to switch.
All right, we're going to transition. We don't only a few more minutes left. There's something a video clip on YouTube. It's a little blurry, but that we wanted to show you and talk about our support group that we have with KCIA.
Allison Camerata is with us now, and along with her is Dr. Linda Applegarth, the director of... Allison Camerata is with us now, and along with her is Dr. Linda Applegarth, the Director of Psychological Services at the Perlman Collins Center for Reproductive Medicine at the New York Presbyterian Hospital Weill Cornell Medical Center.